Hey everyone, I'm Steve and I'm here in the shop at the Woodturning store. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn an acrylic or resin blank. Particularly for pens and projects, acrylic and resin blanks have become all the rage in recent years. And there's a little bit of a different turning technique when working with them. And I'm going to show you that in this video. First, let me tell you the difference between acrylic and what we call resin blanks, because there is a subtle difference. They're both plastics. However, acrylic is something that's thermoformed. That means you have liquid plastic, you heat it, you mold it, shape it, let it cool, and you get your finished product. And a typical acrylic blank looks like this. You'll see one or two colors, maybe with a line swirled in, something like that. And these have been popular for over 15, 20 years. In more recent years, we're working with epoxy resins. There are some famous brand names out there that we're familiar with, but these harden as a chemical process, chemical reaction. So they're a little bit more forgiving, and they give us the ability to mix more colors, put in mica powder, other things, and actually a lot of turners themselves do home casting with epoxy resins. Over here, we have an example of some of our turning project blanks, which are clear with colored flakes inside, as well as gold flakes, and make beautiful, beautiful items for Christmas ornaments and things like that. But one characteristic of the acrylic blanks, or the resin blanks in particular, is they are brittle. We often hear the words, or I often hear the words from turners that say, hey, we bought your resin blanks and they tend to be chippy. Well, yes, they are, because they're plastic. They are very brittle. And let me show you. So I did that on purpose to show you, yes, they are brittle. So we have to take special care with that. Here's a case where just me bringing in the tailstock with the pointed live center caused this to break. So once again, in this video, what I'm going to show you is how to easily and efficiently turn these without the stress of the brittleness. So if I'm turning an acrylic or a resin pen blank, for example, I'm going to turn it between centers. And we can use our traditional 60-degree point, but that is going to tend, if you push too hard, to pretty easily split the blank. So what I like to use, I have this set here. They're from Axminster, and they're called matched pair of ring centers. There's a very, very small pointed nib here. Let's see if I can show you that. And then a ring around here, which will stop the point from continuing and potentially splitting your blank. But even this here is enough to, if you haven't done any kind of pilot hole or anything in here, can split the blank and cause you a problem. So what we're going to do is spend just a minute and pre-drill this blank so that our live center doesn't split it. So what I have here is an Axminster Evolution SK100 chuck set up with pen jaws, and lots of chuck manufacturers make pen jaws. Pen jaws are typically longer to hold the length of the blank, and they're able to more easily hold a square or rectangular piece. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll put my pen blank in here. Now ideally I would have a center drill. Center drill is a drill that's very stiff except for the point, and that will prevent wandering. I don't have that today, so I'm just using a very, very fine drill bit. I do have the possibility of it wandering, but it'll be fine for now. I'll turn my speed up to about 500 or 600 RPM. This is a Hurricane keyless drill chuck, and I will just go in less than 1/8 of an inch. And when I take my ring center here, I'm just going to make sure that when the center goes in, I can go in far enough so that my ring can catch, so there's no pressure whatsoever on the blank. I'll take a second and I'll turn this around. Again, 500 RPM, holding on to my drill chuck. So I may have had a little bit of wander there because of the thinness of the drill bit, but we're going to turn this pen blank down so it's fine. Okay. I'll just take a second and I'll remove the chuck from the lathe and I'll put the drive center and the live center in the lathe. All right, so here is the Axminster matched pair of ring centers, 2 Morse taper. So there is a live center side with a ball bearing. We'll get that into the tailstock end. And then the drive side, very similar, but of course it's fixed. No ball bearing whatsoever. Put on my glasses so I can see. And I will line up a little hole here that I pre-drilled with the center point there. Same thing on the tailstock side. There I am. Lock down the tailstock, apply pressure, and now the rings on these centers will cut into the piece with no risk of splitting. So now I'm all set up here. I have my blank between centers, and what tool am I going to use to turn my acrylic or resin blank? Now, I know a lot of you like to use carbide tools because they're very little or no sharpening involved. The problem with carbide tools is they're generally not as sharp as a sharp high-speed steel tool. Yes, we have to sharpen them, but apples for apples, a carbide tool will not be as sharp as a high-speed steel tool. So, what we're trying to do is minimize the amount of stress that we're putting on this. And a carbide tool, particularly if it's worn a little bit, will impart stress into this and be more likely to chip this. Yes, I know we can buy negative rake carbide tools, which reduce it a little bit, but we're not cutting through the acrylic or resin as efficiently as we could. So what tool am I going to use? Tool that works for me is a spindle roughing gouge. This is a Hurricane M2 Cryo spindle roughing gouge. It's about 1.25 inches edge to edge. You might think that's a little bit wide, but that gives us some nice heft and some weight as compared to the 3/4. The modification that I've made to this is normally when you buy these spindle roughing gouges, the angle on here is maybe 75 degrees, something like that. And what I've done is I've sharpened it. So if I put my digital angle gauge on here, I've sharpened this spindle roughing gouge to about 35 degrees. I've sharpened it on a CBN wheel at 180, which is more than fine. Now let's see how this goes. Next thing is I'm going to set my lathe to be on the high speed range, and I'm going to get my speed up just about as fast as the lathe can go. This American Beauty goes to about 3,000. I often do these on the Record Power Herald over there, and I can get to about 3,500, sometimes even more, which does a really nice job. Once again, I'm going to turn on my Record Power cam vac. So I'll put my spindle roughing gouge on the tool rest, and I'll start from just about 1 inch in and move to the outside. Nice and easy. Let the tool do the work. Taking off just a little bit at a time. Not sure if you can see it, but the cam vac does a really nice job of pulling a good number of these chips away. And let's stop and take a look. So you can see basically no chipping whatsoever. Let's keep going. And at this point, I'll start more in the middle and move to the outside. I'll start on this side and move to the outside. Then eventually, what I'll do is I'll put my finger here and slide back and forth, which will help me get a nice cylindrical shape. Again, as we start to get round, I want to try and rub the bevel. Can't rub the bevel out here. But the most important thing is that the really sharp tool is cutting through it, providing little or no stress at all, which would lead to chipping. Start at the lathe and the vacuum. Okay, we're getting there. You can see here we still have some of the edge of that mold release from the factory. We have a flat here. Give it another go. As we get close to round, I'll do it now. You can turn the spindle roughing gouge just on a 15 or 20 degree angle, and you'll see I'm getting shavings off of it. I hope you can see that. No chips, no stress. Using my finger against the tool rest, and with a little bit of experience, I don't even need to see the edge of the tool go across the blank. Okay, we have a little bit more. I'll move away the shaving so you can see a little better. The resin does take a beat, does give the tool a beating, so I'll rotate the tool just a little bit to get a fresh surface, and you should be able to see nice shavings come off. Okay, there they are. And that's it. There you have it. Sharp tool is almost always the answer to a clean finish and a chip-free finish. I hope that was helpful. In the next video, I will show you how we use some Hurricane sandpaper and polish and get this up to a nice gloss finish. Thanks for watching.